8:36, everybody. In Pix 11 is your local election headquarters. Last night, we hosted a debate for the two candidates in the race for Jersey City mayor. So they faced off one last time before voters head to the polls next week, and affordability was really the main focus here.
This is the question of the race. Who can make Jersey City affordable? And you can only do it if you, one, have a track record of beating big developers and real estate interests, and two, if you have a plan to deliver it. And I have that plan. We're going to get tough on the big developers. We're going to put 20% requirement on all large new developments, including some genuinely affordable rents, $1,000 a month and under.
What we can't do, Dan, is we can't engage in risky propositions. My opponent, Councilman Solomon, would talk about $1,000 a month rents. In fact, he's doubled down to $750 a month rents. To do that would require a huge subsidy from all of the taxpayers.
Jersey City Councilman James Solomon, former New Jersey Governor Jim McGreevey have 6 days to convince voters who they should choose. Joining us this morning to discuss who came out ahead is Kean University Provost David Birdsell. David, good to see you again.
Good morning. Great to be here.
So let's talk about it. James Solomon really leaning into this affordability issue. We've seen this playbook before, right, with Zoran Mamdani, and accused Jim McGreevey of being in the pockets of the big developers, making Jersey City less affordable. That's really where they were sparring. Did he make a strong enough case for himself, though, and increase momentum in the race? The two are pretty cordial to each other.
Well, I think that right now the momentum is very clearly with Solomon. If we look at the recent polling, if we look at endorsements, if we look at the former governor's inability, in my view, consistently to be able to attack the core planks of the Solomon affordability program, which is really this 20% subsidy, creating 20% availability in all new housing projects subsidized by the developers. I think it's notable that Mr. McGreevey has not spoken directly about the idea of having the developers themselves subsidize this approach. He's always saying it's going to go up back on the taxpayer. Mr. Solomon denies that. Yeah. I think there are reasons to be skeptical. I mean, basically, if you look at the $1,000 pledge, forget about the $750 pledge, but if there are $1,000 apartments, and if we take the $7,000 figure that he talks about as the average rent market rate, well, basically what you're doing is cutting 17% out of what the developer's take is. And the average developer's take is 20%. So are you going to be able to get people to build buildings? Those are arguments, however, not made in the debate. And I think right now the momentum is very clearly with Solomon.
Yeah, I mean, I even asked him and pressed him on how many of those $1,000 units, and he kind of gave a vague number of somewhere in the 100s. By the end of a first term, to be continued. Jim McGreevey, though, leaning into his political experience. Now, do you think that was the right move? He's talking about how he's the experienced candidate. But look what we just played out in New York City. A former governor who said, I'm the experienced candidate, and then lost.
Exactly. You have a former governor, a baby boomer. They're exactly the same age, a couple of months apart, in Andrew Cuomo in New York City, and now in Jim McGreevey in Jersey City. And I think this playbook, we know how it plays out. What Solomon has been saying very directly is that I'm talking about the future. Now, set aside for the moment the plausibility of his plan. Exactly the same argument that took place in New York earlier this month, right? With Andrew Cuomo saying, this isn't going to work. You're going to create a tax burden. The city will be unaffordable, people will leave, and you'll foster crime. Almost an identical playbook. And this is not what voters are buying at this stage. You've got to have a vision for how you're going to address people's concerns. And right now, I think that is notably lacking in the McGreevey campaign. It's clearly what the Solomon campaign and the candidate himself are doubling down on, and doing so, in my view, fairly effectively.
You know, Mr. Birdsell, there has been a lot of ICE activity in Edison, Newark recently, and when pressed about Jersey City's sanctuary city status, I want you to take a listen to what both of them had to say.
We're going to go above and beyond to protect the immigrants of Jersey City because we need to have their backs. They are part of the fabric of our city. They are extraordinary members of the Jersey City community, and they deserve a city government that has their back.
Part of my responsibility as mayor would be to make sure that we don't jeopardize federal funding for policing. We wouldn't jeopardize federal funding for health and human services. And so I think there are other designations that achieve the same goal as sanctuary city, but provides a different legal definition.
What's interesting about Mr. McGreevey's response right there is the first part of that question, which we didn't play for you, Mr. Birdsell, was that I said yes or no, should it be a sanctuary city? He started to kind of waver on an answer, and I said, well, it's a yes or no question. And then he said yes, and then almost walked it back in his answer. How did you take it?
Well, two things. Number one, the plain fact of the matter is, and we've seen this play out in Washington, D.C., in Los Angeles, and Chicago, and in other cities around the country, is that local authorities do not have the power, and the Supreme Court has been very clear about this, to stop the president from inserting troops into that jurisdiction if he so chooses. So there's really not much you can do. Whatever you want to say about what localities will do to protect citizens, at the end of the day, you simply don't have the legal ammunition to be able to go up against the federal government. But number two, this is, again, exactly what played out across the river in New York City, with Andrew Cuomo saying, if you oppose the government, you're going to jeopardize funding across the board. That's basically the McGreevey argument here. And voters rejected it. People want to hear, even if it's not a terribly plausible strategy legally, that you want to stand up strongly for the citizenry, for the residents of your locality. And that is a popular position in cities across the United States. Again, it doesn't have a big legal basis, but it's something that people want to hear.
And just real quick, because we're almost out of time here, what do you expect voter turnout to be in a runoff election in a city right after a holiday?
Very hard to predict, but if we keep up with the New York City analogies, which surprised way on the upside for voter turnout, we may see that happening in Jersey City as well.
All right, David Birdsell, always appreciate you making the time, and have a great Thanksgiving to you and your family.